All right, so as you saw from the before shot, it was pretty bad. This was just one big area of stacked wood and a bunch of other scraps. So we're gonna go ahead and build this. And I made it pretty small on purpose so it fits in this spot. Eventually, when the shop gets a little bigger, we'll make a bigger one. But for now, this is perfect. And as you can see, it cleaned up this corner pretty nicely. So let's get it done.
Here I'm just cutting down the pieces for my frame. And then after getting a somewhat straight edge, I just cut these right in half. I don't need a full 2x4 frame for this small of a cart. And with the plywood top, it's going to make it sturdy enough once it comes together. And then once I had everything cut, I just put it in place how I wanted it to be, and then tacked it square with my nail gun, and then came back and put screws in it after. Right here I'm measuring the top, and I did cut it by freehand, again just not trying to make this perfect, but it ended up fitting pretty well, and it was actually pretty square, more square than I thought. And I also wanted to route a little groove just to make it easier for the plywood to sit in these sections. And I did go with 1/2" plywood. I didn't need the cart to be super sturdy, although in hindsight that was probably not the best idea, but I'll come back to that. And on the walls I did use a 7-degree angle. I saw most people going with 5 degrees, but for me 7 degrees just seemed like it fit a little better in that groove that I carved out. To help me assemble it, I just used some of these little scrap strips and tacked it all together so I could screw it up a little bit tighter later on. I did end up putting down these strips on the inside so I could screw the bottom boards to make it more sturdy, because I didn't want to turn it over at this point. And also, coming back to that 1/2" plywood, I went with 1/2" because I wanted it to be a little cheaper and lighter, but in hindsight it's not that great to screw into on the edges. So 3/4 inch would have definitely been better, but this is okay. Found a scrap piece of 3/4 inch sanded ply that fit well here. And for making the spacers, I just found an angle that I liked and cut this end out so I could get the measurements exactly like I wanted, and then just drew it out, made my first cut, and then used that first cut to just trace out the rest of these, and it worked out because I basically used the last piece of scrap plywood that I had for this project. Then I divided up the space evenly, added the front, and then just started putting it together. And in the corners I added these blocks because I had some old caster wheels that I took off of just a different moving cart and ended up putting on here and screwed them in. And that was it. Finished it up, and as you can see, it's a small little cart, but rolls well, works well, and for the amount of wood in that left corner, it's gonna fit just fine. Yeah, so this worked out pretty good. I got my hardwoods right here, my longer pieces and my shorter pieces. I might just build me a little shelf so I can double stack those. And then just a bunch of scraps. So it's not that big of a cart, which is fine because I don't do a ton of woodworking. So this actually works out well because it forces me to keep my scraps down to a minimum and not have them just build up and collect stuff like that useless. So that's it. I hope you found this useful. As you can see, it doesn't have to be expensive or complex for a little small wood cart. So thanks for watching, and until next time, enjoy a little sunset on the way to our cove.